Welcome back to Propology 101, and today we're going to talk about something that we haven't talked about yet, and that is a pyro prop, or a prop that's designed to explode, basically. What we're going to be talking about is the Return of the Jedi EE-3 Pyro. This is the blaster that Luke cuts the front end off of. It's basically a part-per-part replica or reproduction or copy of the EE-3 Hero with some modifications. One of the first modifications I'd like to talk about is the blaster has been cut off right here. And in the process of doing that, that's so they could get inside and add all the little bits and pieces and maybe like a chamber for exploding this blaster. Now, this part of the blaster doesn't explode, but flame and sparks and smoke all come out of the front of this after the barrel has been removed. Now, they reattach this rear section by using 2 screws right here. And also, whatever they put inside is held in place by 2 additional flathead screws, one on the left and one on the right. Now, those are the basic modifications that are seen on the body. You can also notice that they also added a buttstock, a cap to the buttstock, like is on the Hero version. And one other thing that's different is it has a different trigger. Now, we don't know if this trigger was lost during casting, it didn't come out right, and they put a different trigger in it, or did they add a trigger to be part of the mechanism to blow this blaster apart? We don't know. But moving down, this would have used the exact same scope. Pyro version that still exists today does not have a scope on it, but it would have used the exact same scope that was on the Hero, the 4x20 scope, but it would have been rigged to explode and blow in half, leaving one half on the blaster and the other half flying off. The barrel is also pretty much identical to the Hero, except for it's less refined. It's not as well built and put together as the original. And it also is cut right along here. Now, I believe they cut it to put something in it, open it up and put something in it. And when they put it back together, they use 7 flathead screws, and you'll see those all around the barrel. That's obviously holding it back together and holding whatever they put inside in place. Now, the greeblies are pretty much identical. It has the same ejection rails from the Revell Phantom 4 kit, part numbers 97 and 98. Those are on the left and right hand side of the receiver. It also has the starter plate, part number 92, from the visible engine kit up here in the front half on the left and right hand side of the stock, and then the unknown greebly also on the left and right hand side of the stock in the rear. Now, there is something extra we don't normally get to talk about, and that's electronics. On the inside or the left side of the buttstock, they have cut it away and made a panel that fits over the cutaway, and inside that panel it has a window. And that window, you can look inside and see a little circuit board, some LED lights, and a little chip. You can also see that the greebly, the unknown greebly in the back on one side is partially cut away. And you also see there is a switch and a button also on the inside of this. And I have a picture. It's upside down. We'll flip it over for you. But it says on and an arrow pointing up. And if you remember in that scene, when Boba Fett flies from Jabba's barge and lands in front of Luke, he lands holding a blaster like this. And if you notice with his left hand like this would facilitate him operating those buttons on the left side of the blaster. And I believe the button, the switch, is an arm, and I believe the button in front of the switch is a firing or to ignite the charges. Now, the chip that is inside the stock, I asked my buddy who's an electronics guy, he helps us down here a lot in the shop, and he also helped us build a robot at one time. He says that chip could be programmed to make lights flash off and on in different sequences and whatnot. I said, really? I said, could it also possibly set off pyro charges at different at, staging the pyro charges to gain this effect. And he said, yes, it could. With that in mind, and I've watched the film, especially this part, in slow motion, and we'll show that also. The first thing that happens is the barrel shoots off. Then you'll see sparks and smoke. And then right after, the scope explodes and then shoots off to the left. That's how it was sequenced. Barrel, sparks, smoke, and scope explodes. Now, there's one other thought that I had. I always keep going back to that trigger being changed. And I think this is just a theory, but maybe that trigger is used to trigger a compressed air cylinder that would allow the barrel to fly off without using a pyro charge to propel it off, but using compressed air instead. And I think in my head that makes sense that it would be safer. I don't know if this is actually true, but it's one more reason to change the trigger if that trigger now is connected to a mechanism that could allow the release of compressed air to cause the barrel to fly off. And that is a quick rundown of the Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett's EE-3 Pyro. Thank you for joining us. I hope you learned a little bit. This one was really exciting to kind of look at and figure out and decipher. I really enjoy this type of stuff. And join us next time when we pull out another prop, tear it apart, and see what it's made of.